Good evening. The date is Monday, February 6, 2026. From the high desert of California to the humid launch corridors of Florida, the machinery of exploration is grinding into motion.
Indeed. It has been a fortnight of consequential movement. We have seen the safe return of travelers from the void, the rollout of the vessel destined for the lunar sphere, and the shifting tides of the aerospace economy. Tonight, we report on the state of our union with the cosmos.
We begin with a special broadcast brought to you by ProWave AI and generated by Stylo News, the AI-powered news application.
The headlines tonight: a safe, albeit expedited, return for the crew of SpaceX Crew 11, the historic rollout of the Artemis II rocket.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to stop. I can't keep this voice up for 15 minutes. Can we just drop the whole Walter Cronkite impression?
I don't know, I thought I had a pretty good cadence going there. Very mid-century authoritative.
You did. You really did.
Yeah.
But let's unpack this properly. Because seriously, the last 2 weeks, it really does feel like we're living in one of those old sci-fi movies.
It's a very dense timeline. I mean, if you just look at the last 14 days, you're seeing this convergence of 3 totally distinct storylines.
Which are?
You've got government operations, you've got this incredible commercial acceleration, and then the very human reality of spaceflight.
So let's start right there with the human element, the return of Crew 11. That was back on January 15th.
Right. So this mission, it was the end of a 167-day expedition on the ISS. They splashed down off the coast of California near San Diego.
But this wasn't the original plan, timing-wise.
Not exactly. I mean, usually these returns are scheduled down to the minute, months in advance. This one was different.
Because of the medical issue. And I want to be careful here because people love to speculate. But the official reports were very clear about maintaining privacy.
Exactly. And that's really the responsible way to look at this. What we know is that there was a medical concern. That's the term they used. And NASA and SpaceX, they made the call to bring them home. The most important takeaway here isn't the speculation, it's the operational success.
It's like the ultimate fire drill, isn't it?
In a way, yeah. The NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, was actually very vocal about this. He praised the efficiency of the evacuation protocols.
And you have to think about that crew up there. They're multinational.
Right. You have NASA, JXA from Japan, Roscosmos from Russia, and suddenly you get a call that says, we need to leave now.
Wow.
The fact that they executed a safe splashdown and the crew member is stable and under evaluation, it just proves the emergency systems work.
It's interesting you mentioned the multinational part. With everything going on down here on Earth, you have Americans, Japanese, and Russians working as one unit to get a sick colleague home.
It creates such a stark contrast to terrestrial geopolitics, doesn't it?
It really does.
Space kind of forces cooperation. The environment is actively trying to kill you. You don't have the luxury of politics when you're dealing with life support.
Okay, so Crew 11 is home safe. But while they were splashing down in the Pacific, the other side of the country was gearing up for something.
Yeah.
Massive. Literally massive.
The Artemis II rollout.
January 17th, Kennedy Space Center. I looked up the specs on this thing, the SLS. It's 322 feet tall.
It's a skyscraper on treads. I mean, that's what it looks like.
And they moved it from the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Pad 39B. A 4-mile journey that took 12 hours. Just try to imagine standing there watching that beast crawl toward the ocean.
It's a visual that really anchors the scale of what we're doing. This isn't just another satellite launch. This is the hardware that's going to take humans back to the vicinity of the moon.
Our first time since
Apollo 17 in 1972.
And we are close. So today is February 2nd. What's the latest on the crew?
As of right now, the crew. That's Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen.
He's with the Canadian Space Agency, though.
Correct. They're all in what's called health stabilization quarantine in Houston.
Which sounds intense, but it's really just making sure nobody catches a cold before getting locked in a tiny capsule.
Exactly. You do not want a rhinovirus outbreak when you're 3 days away from Earth. They should be transferring to Florida any day now.
And what about the tech? There was that hot fire test on January 22nd.
The RS-25 engine, number 2063.
You know the serial number. Of course you do.
It matters because, you know, the RS-25, that's legacy technology from the space shuttle. We're taking the most reliable engines ever built, mixing them with new hardware, and then fueling them up with 700,000 gallons of cryogenic fuel.
Which brings us to the wet dress rehearsal.
Right, that's the final exam. They load all that fuel, they run the countdown, they simulate everything right up to the point of lighting the candle. It's the final go-no-go moment.
And if all that checks out, the launch window opens very soon.
As early as February 6th. Weather permitting, of course.
So, just to be clear for everyone listening, Artemis II isn't landing, right?
Correct. This is a flyby, a 10-day mission. They launch, orbit the Earth to build up speed, and then they shoot out to the moon, loop around it.
Get that classic Earthrise photo.
Exactly, and then come home. It's a shakeout cruise.
Yeah.
They need to prove the life support works in deep space before we try to put boots on the ground with Artemis III.
Still, a 10-day road trip to the moon. I'd take it.
I think we all would.
Okay, so that's NASA. But if we shift our gaze from the government to the private sector, things are getting wild.
Wild is an understatement. The commercial space race has just accelerated in the last 2 weeks. We have to talk about SpaceX.
We always have to talk about SpaceX.
They're just operating on a scale that's hard to comprehend. While NASA is prepping Artemis, SpaceX is down in Texas prepping Starship V3.
V3, that's the one that's supposed to be even bigger.
It is the largest rocket ever built. They're planning a test flight for March, but the design intent here is what's so fascinating.
It's not just about getting to orbit.
No, it's designed for orbital refueling, and that is the key technology that unlocks Mars colonization.
And speaking of colonization, there's some serious financial news swirling around them.
The IPO rumors?
Yeah. Reports of a SpaceX initial public offering targeting mid-June 2026. And the valuation they're talking about is $1.5 trillion.
That's the figure being discussed. To put that in perspective, that rivals the GDP of entire countries.
There's a very Elon flavor to the timing, isn't there?
There is. The report suggests it aligns with Elon Musk's 55th birthday and a planetary alignment of Jupiter and Venus.
Of course it does.
But look past the eccentricity for a second. The why is important. Why raise that much capital?
Right.
It's not just for more rockets. It's to fund the Mars colonization infrastructure and, get this, space-based AI data centers.
Space-based AI data centers. You mean server farms in orbit?
It actually makes a lot of sense if you think about cooling and constant solar energy, but it is a massive capital investment.
And meanwhile, they just hit their 600th Falcon launch.
Yes. They launched the GPS 3-9 satellite for the U.S. Space Force. This is important because that slot was originally for UL United Launch Alliance.
Oh, interesting.
So SpaceX stepped in. It really shows how dependent our defense infrastructure has become on this one commercial provider.
But they're not the only game in town. I saw something about Rocket Lab having a good couple of weeks.
Rocket Lab is having a moment. Their stock hit an all-time high. They just secured a $1.4 billion defense contract for satellite construction.
That is huge for a company that, started out launching tiny satellites from New Zealand.
It is, and it has real economic impacts. You're seeing growth in Long Beach, California, and in Auckland. They're proving there's room for another major player in this space and defense market.
What about Blue Origin?
They've got the New Glenn rocket. The third launch is scheduled for late February, so they're finally starting to get their cadence going.
Okay, I have to ask you about this one because it sounds like it's from a sci-fi novel. GRU Space, a lunar hotel by 2032.
Yep. Room prices are estimated at $7.5 million.
Does that include breakfast?
I would hope it includes oxygen. But seriously, while it sounds a little fanciful, the fact that companies are putting dates and prices on this stuff shows you where the long-term ambition is.
So what does this all mean? We have rockets rolling out. We have medical evacuations, trillion-dollar IPOs. If you're sitting in Florida or Texas or even New Zealand, this isn't abstract news.
No, it's economic reality. If you're on the Space Coast in Florida, this is a boomtown era. The tourism, the jobs at Kennedy Space Center, it's vital. Same for Brownsville, Texas, with Starbase.
And for the U.S. as a whole.
This is a reassertion of American dominance. We have to be frank about the geopolitics here. China has very specific lunar ambitions.
A research station, right?
Right. Artemis II is the United States planting a flag, metaphorically, for now saying, we are still the leaders here.
That it's a different kind of leadership than in the 60s.
Totally different. Back then, it was all government. Now, the U.S. strategy relies heavily on the commercial sector. The Space Force needs SpaceX and Rocket Lab. NASA needs SpaceX for the lunar lander. It's a public-private hybrid.
And internationally, we mentioned the Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen.
That's a key distinction from Apollo. Apollo was purely American. Artemis is international. You have Canada on the crew, the European Space Agency involved. It's about building a coalition in space.
The public sentiment seems to be general excitement, but I have to imagine there's some sticker shock.
Oh, there is. You look on social media, people love the idea of return to the moon, but then you see the cost of one SLS rocket versus the potential cost of a Starship. And there are questions.
Right.
NASA Administrator Isaac Kappen has been navigating this carefully. He emphasizes safety and the long-term journey, but he also acknowledges cost reduction is necessary.
And Musk is just focused on Mars.
Musk sees the moon as a stepping stone. His eyes are on the red planet. That's the real divergence in philosophy. NASA is about sustainable exploration. Musk is about multiplanetary survival.
So looking ahead, what's on the immediate radar? What should people be watching for?
The date to circle is February 6th. That is the opening of the launch window for Artemis II.
So we're waiting for that final go-no-go decision.
Exactly. Watch for the analysis after the wet dress rehearsal. If the fueling test goes smoothly, if the engines look good, we could see a launch very, very soon.
And then in March?
The Starship test in Texas. If that V3 rocket flies successfully, it completely changes the calculus for heavy lift capabilities globally.
And longer term.
Artemis III is the landing. That's probably 2027 or 2028. And financially, keep an eye on that mid-year point for the SpaceX IPO. That will shake up the markets.
It is a lot to keep track of.
It is. We are moving from an era of occasional space visits to one of permanent presence. And that transition is messy, it's expensive, and it's happening incredibly fast.
Well, fortunately, we have a way for you listening to stay on top of all this without needing a degree in orbital mechanics or, a Bloomberg terminal.
Right. We mentioned them at the top, but let's talk about the tech behind this briefing. Stylo News.
So Stylo News is basically the consumer version of a professional tool called Stylo Intel Ops.
Which is software used by government and military enterprises. I mean, we're talking about a tool designed for global decision makers.
Yeah, it's not just a news aggregator. It pulls from hundreds of traditional sources, but also from what used to be Twitter. And it uses AI to synthesize all of it.
The feature that really stands out to me is the location AI bot. It does pattern of life analysis. So if you want to understand where events are happening and forecast timelines like when a rocket might actually launch based on local logistics, this tool does that.
You can customize it to create your own personal intelligence style briefs. So you can basically get a deep dive like this one, generated on demand for whatever topic you care about.
It's all about cutting through the noise. We live in information overload. Having an AI that filters for relevance and facts, that's a huge advantage.
So if you want to upgrade your information diet, download the app. You can subscribe at stylonews.com. That's STYLO news.com. Get AI-powered news on demand.
It's worth checking out.
We want to thank you for hanging out with us today. It's been a fascinating couple of weeks, and I have a feeling the next few are going to be even crazier.
History is happening right over our heads. Don't forget to look up.
And if there's a topic you want us to do a deep dive on next time, space or otherwise, let us know. Follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms.
Until next time.
Good night and good luck.